Hello and welcome back. This is a space where we talk about your mindset, we talk about your dreams, we talk about your fears, we talk about your doubts. We talk about all those things that matter when you're trying to create your dream life because I'm trying to do the same thing. So I'm just giving you guys the tips that I'm using. Today, we are going to get into emotional awareness, okay? This is this goes hand in hand with self-awareness, like you being able to recognize and be responsible and accountable for not just the way you feel but the way you react, just taking accountability for it and not putting your emotions in anybody else's hands. This is something that I had to learn. Like, I can still remember the first day where I was like, wait a minute, I'm actually in charge of how I feel. Like, hold on, I don't have to feel this way. So let's just get straight into all the things that I have done that have made me as emotionally aware as I am today. So first, I want to define what emotional awareness even is, right? So to me, how I would define it is emotional awareness is basically your ability to be aware of the feelings that you're feeling, and not just be aware of it, but be responsible for it. And then also know that it could be triggering something in you for a reason. And then being aware enough to know that whatever emotion you feel, there might be a reason directly correlated to things that you've went through in the past or things that you fear, or it could be insecurity. It's basically just being aware of, maybe why you react the way you do when certain people say certain things to you, or maybe why you feel the way you do when certain things happen in your life. It's just overall getting to know who you are so that when you have these emotional reactions, whether they're good or bad, you're able to say, like, I understand why I'm having this emotion, or you're able to say, I'm choosing to feel this way because A, B, C, D, right? It's just being aware that your emotions serve a purpose, and it's getting to the bottom of what that purpose is in the moment when you're experiencing the emotion. It's, having that awareness to say, I'm getting angry because you're triggering something in me that a lot of people don't touch on, or I'm getting angry because I feel like I've been abandoned and has been a reoccurring theme in my life. It's just your ability to connect your emotions with who you really are and then become better because of it. So that is what emotional awareness at least has done for me in my life, especially in my relationship. Like, I've been in a relationship now for going on 9 years. So trust me when I say, like, you have to have self-awareness and you have to have emotional awareness if you're going to be with someone for so long, because not only are you dealing with your own emotions, you're dealing with theirs too, right? So when you are able to handle your own emotions, when you're able to be accountable for them, it becomes easier for you to see the other person's perspective. And it also becomes easier for you to rub off on them. Like, all your good habits can rub off on them, because then they'll see, oh, like, she's not blaming me for why she's angry. She's actually trying to look into it and trying to figure out exactly where this anger came from, right? And then that same type of mentality can rub off on your partner. So that is the value of being emotionally aware, and that's kind of what it means to me. So the first tip I would give you to becoming more emotionally aware is, first of all, you have to convince yourself that your emotions are your responsibility. Like, you have to convince yourself that when you get angry, when you feel triggered, it's not the other person's fault. Like, if you are in a relationship and you are arguing with someone, the anger that you feel, yeah, they probably had an effect. They probably added to it. But at the end of the day, you have to convince yourself that you are responsible for the sadness you feel, even for the happiness. Like, when you feel happy, you are choosing to allow whatever it is that is outside of you to make you happy. Like, even that is a choice. So you have to first be able to take responsibility for it. And a good example of this is way back when, years ago, when I was in college and I was dating my boyfriend. There was a moment where, or I would say there were a good, like, year or two where we would bicker back and forth, like, often. And at that point, I wouldn't say that either of us was very emotionally aware, because it was just hard for us to not see how that the other person is not the cause of your emotions, is not the cause of your annoyance, your anger, or whatever the case may be. And I remember one time being angry. I don't remember what the situation was. I don't remember what happened. Like, that's how insignificant it was, right? But what I do remember is that this was the first moment where I was angry and I did not blame the other person for it. I didn't blame my boyfriend for it. Like, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm annoyed. Yeah, I'm angry. But right now, like, I still have the whole day ahead of me. And the type of person I was, like, I can hold a grudge all day. So I had to tell myself, like, do you want to be angry all day? Like, do you actually want to go through the whole day being angry? Or do you want to say to yourself, like, you know what? This is how I feel. If I refuse to communicate how I'm feeling, if I'm refusing to actually like figure it out, then I can decide to stay in this emotion, or I can decide to move past it, because it's not a big deal. Like, it's not that significant. So I remember telling myself, like, if you want to have a good day, like, you either choose to stay upset or you choose to just move past it. And I made the choice. Like, I was like, you know what? I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to have an attitude. I don't want to be upset. I just want to be okay. Like, I just want to move on with my day. And I made the decision, and then I just started to act as if I was okay. And eventually the emotion, the anger slipped away, the annoyance slipped away, and I was able to get back into my body again, right? But I had to make that choice. I had to make that decision. And not only did I have to make that decision, but then I had to have a conversation internally with myself, and I had to convince myself of why making this decision to move past the anger was way more important to me than staying in the anger, being upset, not communicating. Like, I had to convince myself of it, because I've never been that person before. I had never been someone who took responsibility for the anger that I felt and then tried to change it in the moment. Like, that is hard to do. And it's still something that I'm doing today. It's still something that I'm working on today. Like, even though I'm way better, and I would say things that used to annoy me or anger me way back when, like, they don't bother me as much anymore, because something I always say is that you can choose to be right or you can choose to be happy. And I am more than likely going to choose to be happy. Like, I just don't have time. I don't have the energy to argue with anyone. Okay. I just don't. So I just, became very aware that I made the choice. And that goes for anything else in my life. Like, if you're going through something that doesn't feel good, if someone did something to you, you always have the choice. Like, do you want to sit here? Do you want to feel upset? Do you want to feel stressed? Or do you want to feel something else? All you have to do is decide that you want to feel something else. And then once you decide that you want to feel something else, you get to choose how you're going to go about it. And if you don't know how to go about it, just act as if, like, you literally have to fake it till you make it sometimes. Like, you just kind of have to tell yourself, okay, how would I act in this moment if I wasn't upset? Or how would I act if I were taking responsibility for the way I feel right now? And I'm not waiting for anything outside of me to make me feel better. Okay, take accountability, choose how you want to feel, and then try your best to embody that feeling. Try your best to just be content. Even if you can't go from angry to sad to happy, like, can you at least get to content? Can you at least get to these emotions in this moment is not serving me? So I rather just chill out. I rather distract myself. I rather just be content in this moment with what is. Okay. Have that awareness, because when you have that awareness, you get to choose. Okay. Now, the second thing that you want to do is notice when you feel triggered. Okay. And then you have to train the voice in your head to calm you down, not hype you up, right? Because we all have that voice in our head. We have the thoughts. Like, when you're angry, it's either two things happening. You're either saying, calm down, I don't have to be angry, or you're saying, you know what? No, this person did this, they did that, and now I'm angry. I have a right to be angry because they did this to me, or they didn't do this right, or this is happening to me. Like, you either are justifying your anger or you're calming yourself down. And you have to train your inner voice to calm you down. As much as you feel like you're right, as much as you feel like your anger is justified, right? You still have to find a way to calm down. Okay? Like, calm down. When your emotions are high, your intelligence is low. Like, you just cannot make the best decisions from a state of heightened emotions. Okay? At least when it's negative. Okay? When you feel anger, stress, worry, sadness, any of those emotions, if you are sitting in those emotions, it'll be hard for you to get out of them, or it'll be hard for you to make any type of like good decisions from that place. So the way that you train your inner voice to work for you and not against you is by just being aware. Like, it all comes down to like that awareness and having self-awareness and being able to notice when you're angry, because there is a point between like the thing that triggered you and your decision to be angry. There's like space between there, and that space is where you get to decide how you want to react, right? So for example, if somebody says something to you, a very stupid example is, let's say somebody calls you out your name. Somebody calls you stupid, somebody calls you dumb. And after those words leave their mouth, like, you're either a very reactive person, and as soon as they say you stupid, you're like, you're stupid. And then you get pissed off, you get angry, whatever the case may be. But let's say that they say you're stupid. You can take a minute to pause and think about how you want to react. So that pause that you take, that is when you use that time in between your reaction and the trigger. You use that time to convince yourself of how you're going to react and why. You train your voice every time you're about to get angry, every time you feel triggered. You can train your inner voice to calm you down, right? And sometimes, like, I'm not perfect at this. So sometimes I get angry even though I'm telling myself to calm down. Like, inwardly, I'm like, stay calm. This does not have to annoy you. This does not have to bother you. Like, is it really that big a deal? Like, my inner voice can be 100% on my side, trying to calm me down. But outwardly, like, I still feel so triggered, right? So when that happens, the best thing that I can do for anyone is just to be quiet. Like, I retreat. And if you're in a relationship, or if it's with a family, friend, like, if it's some type of like exchange with somebody that made you angry, or that triggered sadness or stress or any type of negative emotion, you can also just ask for them to give you a minute. Like, give me a minute because I'm not processing this well right now. Like, I'm angry and I just need time to figure out why that is. So that's my go-to. Like, if I can't work through the emotion, if my inner voice isn't reeling my ego back in, then I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to sit in silence and I'm going to figure out exactly what it is that is triggering me, right? And sometimes you just need time to cool off. Like, as humans, like, sometimes we just need that time to relax and to remind ourselves of like what's really important and what isn't. So train your inner voice to work for you. Train that voice in your head. Like, when you're angry, like, don't train it to hype you up. Like, don't train it to see what the other person did. Don't train it to justify your anger, your sadness, your stress, your worry. Like, don't train it to do that. Train it to work in a way that benefits you, to say things to yourself that you would say to someone that you loved if they felt the way that you feel, right? Because sometimes the advice that we would give to other people isn't the advice that we're taking for ourselves. So train that inner voice to work for you, okay? The other thing that I've done to become more emotionally aware is when I feel angry or when I feel any type of like negative emotion, I try to like ask myself, is this like logical? Like, is the reason I'm feeling annoyed actually logical? Does it actually have anything to do with them, or is it just how I'm feeling? Because sometimes it's just like you have other things on your mind and then you express it, or you release that emotion on someone else who didn't deserve it. Even though you're being emotional, you still want to make sure that you leave space to be logical and you question the reason why it is that you are reacting the way that you're reacting. Another way that I like to apply emotional awareness, because I definitely think that being emotionally aware in your relationships is like one of the most important things. But also another reason why you want to be emotionally aware is because your emotions are like, it's like a guidance system. Like, your emotions is always telling you what you would prefer to have more of, or what you would prefer to have less of, right? Because when you feel good, when you're doing certain things and you feel good, that usually means that you're heading in the right direction. Especially when it comes to like you creating your dream life, you pursuing like careers or hobbies or just anything that fills you up. Like, when you feel good, you know that you're moving in the right direction. But if you feel stressed, if you feel sad, like, that is an emotional indication to you that something is wrong, right? Because your default mode should be happiness. And not saying that you should feel happy all the time, but you should always be trying to work your way to happiness. Like, that should always be the standard, right? You should always try to vibrate at that frequency, because that's where everything that you want is. It lives in the realm of happiness, okay? Not in sadness, not in stress, not in worry, not in overwhelm. So when you feel those type of emotions, it's just an indication that you need to turn in the other direction. Like, you need to make some adjustments. Most likely you need to change your focus, right? No matter what you're going through, usually you can feel better if you change what you're focusing on, right? No matter what your predicament is, no matter what your circumstances are currently, you can still choose to be a glass half full type of person. Like you can still choose to see the good in everything. And it's not always easy. And I'm not saying you have to be positive Polly and walk around here being positive all the time. Like that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you also don't deserve to be sad all the time. Like you don't deserve to be stressed all the time. You don't deserve to sit in that anger all the time. Like you don't deserve that. Okay, like I said, your natural state is happiness, and you should always be trying to find your way back to that state no matter what is going on in your life. Like choose to see how this moment is simply just a test to see if you can embody happiness before even getting there, right? That is the key to manifesting anything. It's when you can feel the feelings of already having the desired results before you get there. You're never going to be done. You're always going to want more. It's in your nature. We're humans. It's in all our nature to want more, to create more, to love more, to be more. Like it's just in who you are, and that's fine, right? And that's why you have to fix who you are in this moment. Like you don't have to wait until you have the money. You don't have to wait until you have the friends. You don't have to wait until you have a new job to start to feel good. You can do that now. Okay. If you can do that now, then everything you want will automatically come to you, because when your vibration changes, when it rises, like reality will bend. It will change to reflect that. Okay. Use your emotions to guide you. When you're not feeling good, stop doing what you're doing. When you feel good, keep doing what you're doing. It is that simple. Or at least it can be if you let it. The last thing I want to say is sometimes you can just become so accustomed to reacting in a certain way that you don't even realize that it's not justified anymore, right? Like if you're used to being a grumpy person, if you're used to being an angry person, a sad person, like sometimes you won't even notice that what it is that's keeping you stuck is that you are just so accustomed to feeling these emotions that even though it doesn't feel good, you have become so comfortable with the chaotic feeling of anger, of sadness, of stress, that is now your natural state. And if that is your natural state, then that is what you will continue to perpetuate. That is exactly how you will continue to be, because you are unaware of the fact that this isn't actually who you are. It's just who you're being. Like you're just always used to reacting this way, right? And what even adds to that is if your family, friends, or the people you love or are close to you, if they have known you to be some type, like a certain type of person for so long, like if they have known you to be the type of person who snaps on people, who has no emotional intelligence whatsoever, like sometimes you get trapped in that role just because it's who everybody else has known you to be, right? No one has known you to be the person who pause and thinks before they act. No one has known you to be the type of person who does not stress, like, yeah, I don't have it this week, but oh well. Like sometimes you get trapped in that identity of just reacting in the way that you always have. And that's normal, because your brain, at the end of the day, your brain is just memorizing everything that makes up who you are, everything that you believe that makes you you. Your brain has memorized those things, and unless you become aware and you start to rewire it by adding a new habit, by adding another reaction, unless you do that, you will continue to react in the same way. Okay, you'll continue to be the same person every day. So just be a little bit more aware, right? You get to choose who you want to be on an emotional level as well. Like if you want to be a person who is more happy, then stop looking at yourself as someone who isn't. If you want to be more bubbly, then stop looking at yourself as someone who isn't. Like that, it really is that simple. If you shift the way you see yourself, then the way that you are will also shift, because you will automatically start to act as if you are that person already. You just have to believe it, okay? And if you can't even believe in it, then it'll be hard for it to happen, okay? So I would at least start with the possibility that, hey, I can change. Like, usually this is the type of stuff that will make me angry. Usually this is the type of behavior that will annoy me. But you know what? I'm not going to be that person anymore. Like, I don't want to be annoyed, right? I feel like for me, my ultimate goal is to get to a place where I can be in any situation and my mood will not be affected by it, like unless I choose for it to be affected. That is the level of like contentment and confidence that I want to be at with my emotions. I want to be able to be put in any situation and I don't react like negatively, like I don't lose my shit. Like that is my goal. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it, and that's all that counts. Like as long as you set the intention, and little by little, like no matter how long it takes, as long as you're working on it, eventually you'll get there, right? You'll get to a point where things don't bother you you as much, where things don't annoy you as much, and you feel happy most of the time. And yeah, and you're just able to, when you become more emotionally aware, you're able to understand other people better. And when they get angry at you or they are triggered by something you said, it's easier for you to understand because you understand yourself and you understand your own emotions. Okay, so that is the value of becoming emotionally aware. And those are all the things that I've done to help me like get to this point where I'm very good at communicating my emotions. I'm very good at monitoring how I feel. Not all the time am I able to control my reaction, but most of the time I do. So, I feel like that counts for something. And I'm only getting better because I'm dedicated to getting to a certain place. Like I have a goal. So that is it for today. I hope that you bloomed because I know I did. And I will see you guys on the next one.